Moses. It is Numbers. I am looking at chapter number 11, and I'll read just two of the verses, 16 and 17. What does 16 say? And the Lord said unto Moses, Gather unto me 70 men of the elders of Israel, whom thou knowest to be the elders of the people, and officers over them, and bring them unto the tabernacle of the congregation, that they may stand there with thee. Verse number 17 says, And I, the Lord, will come down and talk with thee there, and I will take of the Spirit which is upon thee, and will put it upon them, and they shall bear the burden of the people with thee, that thou bear it not thyself alone. It's exactly 9 minutes past the hour of 7 p.m. Distinguished listeners of Z 101.9. It is the very first day of August 2024, the year of our Lord. My name is Nana Safo Kantanka, and this is how I welcome you to your Voter's Aid 2024. This is the platform that offers you the opportunity to learn about adult universal suffrage. I refer to the book of the gospel, and that's how voting began with life and in the history of the people of the Israelites. Today in Ghana, following from the 1992 Constitution, we have the Republican Constitution, which gives and makes reference to the process and legitimacy of voting. And if you refer to the Constitution, you would want to look at articles from 42 to 56. It prescribes everything that has to do with the electioneering process. If you are eligible or not, what are the other criteria that goes with voting? Tonight, on your power station, and I'm referring to your lifestyle, leisure, and business platform, Z101.9, we will be taking you through the do's and don'ts of electioneering. What is it at all about? We will be learning a little more, and this is brought to you in conjunction with the National Commission for Civic Education, and to be more precise, the Kufuor Scholars Program. These young ones have taken it upon themselves to help in educating the Ghanaian populace on what the whole electioneering process is about. Tonight, I've got two guests with me. First of all, I'll be coming to you with the voice of Alexis Kunedu SL, who is one of the powerful members of the Kufuor Scholars Program. She will be talking to us about what electioneering, voting is all about. She's got a very sweet message for you, and you do not want to leave your dial. And who is next? Right here in the studios with me, your lifestyle, leisure, and business platform, Dr. Mohammed Imurana, the Director of Programs of the National Commission for Civic Education. You do not want to leave your dial, which brings you all the wonderful and powerful messages talking about the Republic of Ghana and precisely the business of electioneering. Don't go away. I'll be right back. 12 minutes gone past the hour of 7, and this is 101.9 Z Multimedia, Z101.9 FM, your lifestyle. It's about your leisure and it's about your business. This is where everything is encapsulated in one. Tonight, we're talking not about business, not about lifestyle, not about leisure, but about your civic responsibility. Election 2024 is just around the corner, and guess which teams are in collaboration to bring all the educational campaigns to your home, right behind the steering wheel if you're driving home. And if you're still stuck in your office, Z101.9 is just about bringing you all the education first and foremost. We'll go to Alexis Kunedu SL, who is gorgeous, sat right directly in front of me and is bringing you some sweet information about voting. Alexis, how you doing?
I'm very fine, thank you.
Wonderful. And you just got elected as the JCR Secretary of the University of Ghana, my alma mater. Is that correct?
Yes, for United Nations Hall, Evandi.
You're the JCR Secretary?
Elect.
Yes. All right. Secretary-elect.
Yes.
But I'm told you are a wild lady. Is this correct? How did you do it all? I mean, beating all the gentlemen to it and rising up to become the JCR Secretary. How did you do it?
Yes, I told them what I wanted to do. I made them believe in what I had for them. So that's it.
Has that got to do with voting in the Republic of Ghana? Is there something special that you had to bring to yourself and to build up, and that's how come you managed to win the secretaryship of the JCR elections?
Yes, personally, I think adding our voices to that of the many is very essential. And it's very essential for us all to play a role in choosing our leaders. So, yes. Excellent.
So now you've got a special message for election 2024, and the whole of the Republic is listening to you. You know, Z is about the people. It's 101.9. It's exactly 14 minutes past the hour of 7. What is your message?
Okay. Tonight, I'd want to invite all of you to reflect on these important questions. Who has your vote? Are you aware that people under the age of 35 form about 73% of our population, with a significant number being of voting age? We haven't even gotten to a general election, with the NDC, the NPP, the Movement for Change, the New Force, and the other political parties versus each other in their quest to convince us to vote them into power to steer the affairs of the nation. But the inevitable question remains, who has your vote? Who has your vote? Because in 4 months, we'll be going to the polls to vote in probably the most important presidential and parliamentary elections in our lifetime. This session is not just about us alone. It's about you, that young person above the age of 18 and is an eligible voter. It is about you, that person whose vote will make a difference, but because has lost hope in leadership, has decided to neglect their voting rights. That young person who is jobless because our systems are not working as a country. That person who will see greener pastures the moment they are given the opportunity to, but does not even have money in their bank accounts, come to talk of having a bank statement to meet the requirements for a visa. That young person who is thinking of rather establishing a business with their school fees because they think their certificate will be rendered meaningless after school. The list is endless, and if I decide to go on with it, I go there explain tire, but no evidence. Now please understand today, I am not here to preach politics or make a decision for you, but I want to turn the direction to us, the voter. Voting is a right and a duty that belongs to each and every one of us, whether we are scholars, farmers, entrepreneurs, students, or retirees. Our voices deserve to be heard in the corridors of power. We are reminded of the sacrifices made by those who came before us, who fought for the right to participate in shaping the destiny of our nation, from the struggles for independence to the ongoing efforts to strengthen democratic institutions. Ghana has a rich history of civic engagement and political activism. But with great power comes great responsibility. As voters, we have the duty to critically evaluate the platforms and policies put forth by our candidates. We must look beyond rhetoric and empty promises, seeking leaders who demonstrate integrity, competence, and a genuine commitment to serving the people. Let us not allow ourselves to be used as instruments of violence before and after elections. Let us not be swayed by empty promises to better our lives or the opportunity to travel out of the country. If they had genuine plans for the country and its citizens, they wouldn't want to resort to such tactics. Let us not put a monetary value to our votes because a meager amount of 100 cedis will not suffice for even a week. Let's join hands and put an end to voter inducement. Sacrifices were made, don't forget that. Don't think that going to the polls and standing in line is beneath you or you don't have a time. We have a responsibility to vote, and your one vote will make a difference. If you doubt me on that, then hear me out as I call the historical roll. In 1776, one vote gave America the English language instead of German. In 1845, one vote brought Texas into the Union. In 1868, one vote saved President Andrew Johnson from impeachment. We have a responsibility to vote, and we must honor this most important privilege. As citizens, let us embrace this opportunity with humility, wisdom, and a deep sense of civic duty. Let us all join hands as citizens by engaging in constructive dialogue, fostering unity amidst diversity, and working tirelessly towards a brighter future for all Ghanaians. Let us each commit ourselves to being active participants in shaping the future of Ghana for the betterment of all its citizens. In closing, let us remember that the path to effect change lies not just in the hands of our leaders, but in the collective will of the people. Considering the fact that in Ghana, presidential elections can only be won by a 50+1 percentage of votes, and the youth form a significant part of the entire population, think of the change we can effect if we decide to. Think of how we can make the systems work if we decide to. And think of how we can make our leaders accountable for their actions and inactions if we decide to. Together, let us rise above partisan divides and petty politics, united in our shared commitment in building a stronger, more prosperous Ghana for generations to come. We are many, we have a voice, and we can make a difference. I will vote come December 7. So should you. God bless our homeland, Ghana.
And make us great and strong. Alexis Kudedu Essa with that powerful rendition there. But just before I let you go, Alexis, I know that you don't have to stay through, but you'll still hang around a little bit, until we get to the end of the show. But let me ask you, one vote making a difference. How many votes did you win your elections with?
I don't remember the exact number, but it was around 600.
Wow. You beat your contestants 600 votes to 8. Means you're powerful, but wonderful rendition there. Now, tell me, the Kufuor Scholars Program is taking it upon themselves, to educate Ghanaians. Can you tell me what must have informed this decision?
Okay, so back in June, we decided to conduct a survey, and we got about 1,004 participants participating in the survey. And with that, some of our key findings included low voter registration, which was about 24.8% of the total finding, and a significant number of respondents unaware of their polling stations, which was about 25.2%. So to address these issues, we decided to promote informed voting, increasing voter turnout, combat misinformation, and that's how come we had a collaboration with the NCCE, and also empower Ghanaians through this voter educational campaign. So that has always been the driving force.
And how far has it gone so far? Doing good?
It's been well.
Your colleagues were here on this same platform, on a very strong debate as to the pros and cons of elections and all that. Did you get any feedback, and how has that informed the going forward plan for the Kufuor Scholars Program?
Sure, everyone is excited about this because it's being championed by the youth.
Are they listening tonight?
I'm very certain.
Oh, say yay, Ghana. And everybody is right on here. And this is to welcome you once again to Z101.9 FM, your lifestyle, leisure, and business platform. Alexis Esel Kunedu was the lady who brought us that wonderful piece on elections. But hey, as I told you, I've still got with me in the studios the Director of Programs of the National Commission for Civic Education, Dr. Mohammed Imurana. My big brother, you're most welcome to this platform.
Thank you very much.
How you doing?
I'm good.
And how's the NCCU doing?
Well, we keep on pushing on. It's, what do you call it? It's a lot of work, and we are doing our bit.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah. So this is 2024.
Yeah.
And as I did indicate in my intro, I mean, we've had how many cycles of elections? It's been 32 years, 3 decades plus 2 of electioneering and democratic governance, the rule of law. Ghana is actually on the forefront of this. You want to tell us about how the National Commission for Civic Education has contributed to this whole philosophy of electioneering?
Thank you very much, Safo. And I first of all like to thank the managers of ZFM for creating this opportunity for us, and also the Kufuor Foundation for the collaboration we are having with them towards enhancing our democracy generally and ensure that our election 2024 is held in a peaceful atmosphere, and together as Ghanaians, we can hold our hands and say, yes, we've done it. The National Commission for Civic Education is always pleased to be part of the success stories of Ghana, not just as a bystander, but as an active institution. As you may know, the 1992 Constitution created the National Commission for Civic Education under Chapter 19, right? And it is bestowed with the responsibility to carry education on daily basis on the principles and objectives of the 1992 Constitution. And voting is one of the critical ingredients of sustaining a democracy. So voter education has always been a major part of our activities. And as you rightly said, we've done well over 3 decades of constitutional rule. Over these 3 decades, we've held 8 elections. 8 elections, and we are going into the 9th election. Successively, the NCC does a lot of community engagement, a lot of media engagement like we are doing here today, to ensure that the citizens understand what are required of them before election, on election day, and after elections. And for this year, there are a lot of activities that we have earmarked. Some of them collaboratively with institutions and CSOs and so on and so forth. The major challenge about elections in Ghana is the fact that Ghana is always being held as a beacon of democracy. That is the cliche out there.
That's right.
But no election passes without pockets of violence.
Absolutely. And we'll be coming to the issue of the challenges when it comes to electioneering processes of voting as a whole. But before then, let's still put electioneering within the right context. So like you rightly put it, we've had 8 successive and successful elections. And I'm not sure what role the NCC has played in the past, apart from education and campaigning in collaboration with other state agencies and all that. I know that the Constitution also mandates the Electoral Commission to be the main statutory body, you know, to administer elections in this country. You want to put in context how the NCCE has collaborated with the Electoral Commission in ensuring that all these 8 cycles have been successively successful.
Thank you very much. I think, as you rightly put it, in terms of the institutional arrangements, the Electoral Commission is the mandated, agency or institution to carry out elections. So let me contextualize the discussion into this way. Let's say we have the hardware and then the software. So Electoral Commission does the hardware, which is coming to vote people, put people on an electoral roll, which is the electoral register, right? Deployment of election materials, right? forming the regulatory framework governing elections. But collaboratively, in the first place, it will interest you to know up till now we share the same premises with the Electoral Commission.
You do?
Yes.
And so, for example, I mean, the Electoral Commission, if it was a football match,
exactly,
you had, you know, the Blues on one side,
very well,
and you had the Blacks on the other side.
Yeah.
You have the man standing in the middle, which the French will call l'arbitre.
Exactly.
The arbiter.
Exactly.
And that's the Electoral Commission.
Exactly.
But you're saying they play the hard disk role, and then the NCC probably does the soft role. You want to just espouse that point.
Exactly. So in your analogy of the two teams, you have, let's say, political parties. Then you have the spectators, right? All of them aligning to one football club or the other, right? Who manages the anxieties, the expectations, so that you don't have a disaster?
Probably the match commissioners.
So
or the FA or something like that. So you play some kind of multiple role.
Exactly.
Yeah. Interesting.
Sort of mediatory role between the sort of the hardware I'm talking about, the political parties are there, the Electoral Commission is there. But we sort of sensitize the citizens on soft things. On election day. Election is not a do and die affair. You belong to a political party, but that doesn't mean that on election day you can take the law in your own hands. The fact that they declare electoral results and it doesn't go in your favor should not be a good reason why you should go and destroy state property and so on and so forth. And also, more critically, we complement a lot of the things being done by the Electoral Commission by even letting people know how to vote, right? And in the earlier presentation by my younger sister here, if
Alexis, you mean?
Alexis, yes. Right. She spoke about our demographics, the young persons being, being an integral or being a greater percentage of the population of Ghana today. And the sort of level of disenchantment will not be the right word, because the young persons come into political engagement with a different mindset. In the past, we have systems that are, that are adaptable to us as adults of today. The young persons have a mindset of their own today. They question the reason why they should go and queue for 3 hours in order to put your name on a register, because they are not aware of the history. If they are aware from textbooks, but they didn't see it, they didn't live it. So there is that disconnect, and people are giving those reasons, why should I go and queue for 2 hours, 3 hours just to get a voter card? Secondly, why should I even, the mantra has been that, the political parties are all the same. What is the sense of going to even vote on an election day? But then we sort of mediate that, because one, voting is a civic responsibility.
All right.
Right. A civic responsibility that enhances democracy. We've tested different systems of government, from one-partyism, military dictatorship, and this is the form of government that says, if you are 18 years and above, a Ghanaian of sound mind, you have the power to contribute to the selection of leadership. In Chile, they will say, so
exactly. I mean, so this is the fundamental, functions and the essence of voting.
Exactly.
Right. And you just talked about the first eligibility criteria, which is the person of 18 years of age, and then of sound mind and all that. We'll come to the other eligibility criteria and all that. But I want to take you just one more step back, looking at the whole process of voting. I like it when you put it within the context of saying that this is a civic responsibility and which enhances democracy, the rule of law and all that. And this more so is enshrined in our constitution, the 1992 constitution. Now, when we talk about voting as a concept, voting as a phenomenon, what exactly do we mean?
As a principle and as a value in democracy, voting, gives us the opportunity to legitimize the power of government. Voting in that sense. For example, when in different countries, there are different strategies that they use. So in terms of strategy, in Ghana, voting, when you go to vote, you are given a ballot paper. You use your thumb to select the candidate of your choice or a party of your choice.
Yeah.
Then beyond that, I hope you mean, then what is the essence of that?
Absolutely.
One, it prevents us from a system where a group of people would think it is legitimately right for us to use force to obtain power to rule a country. It builds that culture of civilization in the selection of leadership. Unlike in other systems of government, so probably 8 people meet or less, meet in a small room and declare that these are your leaders. But with voting, we have the civic right as a citizen to determine the destiny of our country. In this sense, it becomes very important. You use it as a bargaining chip to negotiate between your elected representatives and your interests. And when you lose that bargaining chip, you are losing an important ingredient of citizenship. Because what are the essence of citizenship? Is for you to have a voice in the direction that your country goes. And voting is one of the critical things that gives citizens a voice in the direction of the country. 2, it is through that you select or deselect leadership, right? In other places, within 2-3 years, you select a leader, we are not comfortable with him, or her, you decide that you go onto the street, you go to take the probably the symbol of leadership, and you have crisis. But with voting, there are these systematic arrangements at every point that you are unhappy with the direction of governance. There is an opportunity for you to use your thumb to make a selection.
But that does not necessarily get the person that I vote for into power. You will say that majority will carry the vote, and it's only the majority. I would want to believe that in the case of the Republic of Ghana, it's about one presidential candidate or a candidate of parliament winning 50 plus 1 vote. You want to explain what the consequence of this standard that is set in there and how it impacts the process of voting?
Exactly. I think Ghana put very high premium on who becomes a president. So in that arrangement, they say before you become a president of this country, you should win more than 50%. So in our Ghanaian parlance, we say 50 plus 1. So if you get 50%, any additional vote makes you. The arrangement is to ensure that whoever becomes a president is really popular. You have an instance where you have several political parties and candidates, including independent candidates, contesting for an election. Let's look at a scenario where you have 100 voters and 3 people contest the election. One person gets 30, the other person gets 30, and then the other one gets 40. If you are going by simple majority, the one that gets 30 wins the election. The one that gets the 40 people wins the election. But in terms of the aggregate, when you put the other 2 together, these are 60. That is where the majority is. So the one that has the 40 people voting for them doesn't have the majority. So I think it is within this context that constitutional arrangement is made for the presidency. Right. So, and I think the 50% plus 1 also is a signal to us, the citizens, that your vote really counts. So if you sit aloof and you say, well, voting is cumbersome, you are likely that your one vote, right, would tilt the choice of leadership to probably a place that you don't want. So that brings us to the essence of people going out to vote.
And so it becomes very necessary
exactly
that every single person, I'll probably be coming back to you, Alexis, because now if you look at the population pyramid of this country, you have the youth constituting a very big chunk of the population. But recently, I think that it's also been coming up gradually that people are getting day by day disinterested in voting. Now, the question I put to you before I go probably to Alexis is this, that if I did not vote, so what?
On the surface of it, somebody will say, okay, that's it. But in
essence, the consequence
exactly
of not voting.
Yes. The very serious consequences that may not be tangible, right? Because you have deselected yourself from the direction that you want your country to go. We talk about people getting disenchanted and people saying, well, what is it? What is it? But the absence of voting, right, will result into a leadership that you may not be happy with. The absence of voting would give people who are, sometimes hungry for power to use illegitimate means, right, to acquire power. We've seen it in some countries. People use low voter turnout as a pointer of the unpopularity of a government. And they involve in so many things like military coups and so on and so forth. We don't want that. So by not voting, you lose a lot. You lose your voice in the day-to-day administration of your country. You pay tax to the state. The state uses those taxes to do things. After voting, you elect your, assembly members, you elect your parliamentarians. You've bestowed them your birthright to make decision on your behalf.
You actually presented to them on a silver platter. Just take all my responsibilities and fly with it. Do what you want to do with it. But this is what we want to prevent, right?
Exactly.
It's exactly 40 minutes gone past the hour of 7, and this is Z 101.9, your lifestyle, leisure, and business platform. And I've got with me tonight on the program your Voter's Aid 2024. And that's what we're discussing tonight. This program is brought to you by the kind courtesy of the National Commission for Civic Education in collaboration with the Kafua Scholarship Program. And tonight I have with me Alexis Knedu Esel, and who is a Kafua scholar, and Dr. Mohammed Imurana, the Director of Programs, the National Commission for Civic Education. Alexis, I'll go back to Doc, but before I do, this is your first time of voting or the opportunity to vote. Is that correct?
Yes.
What is it that excites you about it?
Okay. So I'm actually excited to vote because just like Dr. Imurana said, I want to add my voice to the many and contribute to the decision-making.
What is your voice? What is your voice?
Like, that's my vote.
Well, I love that. I love that. And the many, colleagues of yours out there who form a bigger percentage of the voting population are right now, and it's so necessary that they go vote. But here's what I'm looking out for. What is it that is driving you and your colleagues to mount this campaign? And what is it that the youth of this country are looking out for in this process of voting?
Okay. So most of us would want to vote because we want the systems to work for us. We don't want a situation where we would grow up and then there'll be no jobs or those kind of things, and then we'll find ourselves suffering. So like I said, we would want to add our voices to the many so that we just secure our futures.
Okay. Well, before we close, I'll be asking you who you'll be voting for. I know Dr. Imurana will say, well, this is not allowed because your vote is your secret. But you've got to tell me because I'm right here with you in the station, But tell me, so what do you think will ginger the larger youthful population that we have in this country to go to the polls come December 7, 2024? To elect, first and foremost, the president of their choice, and then subsequently the parliamentary members that they would want to have represented in the House of Parliament.
Personally, from first-hand experience, I realized most people would not want to vote because they would think even if they do, it won't make any difference. But then there are other people on the other side. Who would also want to cast their votes, because like I said earlier, we would want to secure our futures. We want what's best for us. We don't want to see Ghana as it is now. So yes, we are going to critically evaluate the candidates and then like the policies they are bringing forward to us and see.
What kind of evaluation are we talking about here? You tell me some of these, because I think that, either the political representatives, the presidential candidates so far, the parliamentary candidates who are coming up, probably listening to you and might take some of these things rather critically, because you constitute quite a big chunk of the voting population.
Because let me use our University of Ghana setting.
Okay.
Recently, hostel prices have hiked up, and then it's outrageous.
Wow.
Because you are paying
Hostel fees.
Yes.
You want hostel fees
Exactly.
dipped, all right?
Yes. Because you are paying about 18,000 Ghana cedis for a room you'll be staying in for about 6 months. And then it's just outrageous. Some of our parents may not get the means to fund this. So what do we do as students? We would have no other means. If you decide to be a non-resident, so that would be quite a hectic task. So yes, they should consider all these things and then do what's best for us, because we are dying.
Well, here goes Alexis. They are dying. But before we draw this, generalized conclusion, you did indicate that you're in the private hostel. Is that correct?
Yes.
The public hostels, like Legon Hall, Commonwealth, and all the others that we have known, Aquafo and the rest, Mensa, Sabah and the rest, do not cost that much. But of course, this is the situation that we have come to. Private hostels, are getting their fees rather hiked up. And you students would love to see some proposal, some plan, some kind of policy that will bring down private hostel fees, just so that your education will be smoother. What are some of the other things that you're looking up to, for the political parties and, for that matter, the candidates that are putting themselves, look at?
Okay, so I'll still go back to our education aspect.
Education is so key.
Yes.
Why not?
About some months ago, a couple of friends and myself went to a vicinity, Betancourt, and then the state of their only basic school there is very bad. I realized the JHS2 students were outside. They didn't have chairs to sit on because their JHS3 students had their chairs and then they were using it to write a mock. It's such so appalling. So I'd really appreciate it if they turn their attention to our educational sector, because most people are really suffering, and then education is very key, so they should pay attention to that too.
Educational infrastructure is what Alexis comes back to. Why not? And so if you're a political party or a representation of the political parties that are gearing up for the 2024 electioneering campaign and process, you want to take key note that education is one of the things that the youth are looking out to. I'm sure when we come back to her, she'll be enumerating a little more of some of those expectations that they have. Jobs, employment, I believe, is going to be a very key driver for this electioneering process. But I come back to you, Director of Programs, Dr. Mohammed Imurana. Now, we talked about some of the things that would excite people to go vote. Yeah. Obviously, there are certain blocks, there are certain things that happen that hinder smooth voting and electioneering processes. What are some of these, and how would you advise the listenership of Z101.9 and the greater Ghana to look at?
Exactly. I think the arrangement for voting are normally done by the Electoral Commission. So as a voter, there are things that we consider hindrances. On the other hand, there are also the procedures that we have to follow. Because we talk about qualifying to vote, but that qualification is not automatic. So once you go to register to obtain a card, please, we ensure we keep that card safely. There are instances somebody wakes up, and then you spend a lot of time looking for your voter ID. It's frustrating. So right from the beginning, you keep your voter ID well, where you can easily access it. You try to know your what do you call it? You try to know your polling station where you go to cast your ballot. The Electoral Commission has arrangement. When you register, there are instances where they reopen the voter register for exhibition, for you to go and ensure whether the particulars that you have on your ID cards are what have been rightly corrected. That opportunity will come, and we encourage voters to really use it wisely. Go and verify your information so that on the voting day, you will not get frustrated. Okay. Voting comes with, we will wish, like you could even sit at the comfort of your room and vote, but we are not there yet. So some of the arrangement we may find frustrating, but it's to facilitate, and then we make do of what it is now. And today, the one great thing I think the Electoral Commission has done is to be able to split polling stations, giving them lesser number of people, so that there will be no very long queues. I use the word very advisedly. They will still face queues, but as compared to what happened previously, they have made arrangement to create more polling stations so that you will not stay there for a long time. So as voters, these are the things we have to also be on the watch out. When we go, we arguments, and security men, for example, are polling stations to help us. We don't have to take the laws into our own hands. When you see something that is not desirable, you draw the attention of the electoral officer to it. You draw the attention of the security men to it so that they can address it according to the law. Because when we try to take the law into our own hands, it gives even people who don't have, the right mind to be with us, to carry out what they want to do. There are instances we talk about ballot box snatching. Some of them stem from little arguments that begin at the polling station. So these are the things that we want people to be watching out for. And also, when you vote at a polling station, you can go back to your house, wait for the time of counting, come back, and then we count together. If your candidate wins, you celebrate. If you don't win, it's not the end of of life.
I'd just like you to repeat this process again.
Yes.
Once you have followed the queue, and it's gotten to your turn, and you've successfully cast your ballot, you said do what? Go home
and wait.
Till
5 p.m.
Till 5 p.m.
You can come back.
And then you come back.
Exactly.
And then together we do the counting. This is so critical to the political parties out there.
Exactly.
You want to make sure that when you have successfully cast your ballot, you would want to leave the precincts of the very polling station where you cast your ballot. Just go and relax, get something to eat, because the process of counting can be quite tortuous and can be very, very long. Go refill your engine and come back, and then when it's 5, when the polling is all over, then we can count together and decently. If I win, you celebrate me.
Sure.
If you lose, I celebrate you as well. I won't do that, but exactly, good people out there. Z 101.9, it's exactly 10 minutes to the top of the hour, and that's when we'll be bringing the discussions to a close. But thankfully tonight we've got Alexis Knedu Asel from the Kufuor Scholars Program and Dr. Muhammad Imurana, the Director of Programs of NCCU, with us tonight. We gradually get into the end of the program, but we won't go until a few other things have been explained to us. Doc, I come back to you. There are certain concepts like voter registration. Thankfully, I think we're done. A few days back, I think I did hear that the EC was opening the register so people could go and check. You want to elaborate on that process a little bit. Voter registration, that's one. There's this concept about absentee voting. I don't know what you've got to say about that. And what are the benefits of early voting? If you can share just some tidbits on these three concepts.
Thank you very much. I think for the first one about the registration, I think the Electoral Commission is making very good effort to ensure everybody who is qualified to vote is got registered. So if you realize some time back there were the limited voter registration, and after that, according to the population census we have and then the figures that they had, they still feel that there are people who are qualified to vote but have not been registered. So they are doing a sort of a mop-up. I think for this last one for 2 or 3 days, if my counting is right. And they are doing it at specific places like the prisons, their district offices, and about 26 universities, public universities, all in the effort to get people to register. Then in terms of voting, I think there is, when we talk about absentee voting, some of the terms are technical, which the Electoral Commission could really explain better. But what I can talk about voting is issues of proxy voting, so that if you will not be around on voting day, you can make an arrangement so that somebody can vote on your behalf, which they term as proxy voting. They also have special voting arrangement for what you call it, security services and people like journalists who could be accredited to do a lot of things on the voting or on the real voting day. They are given the chance to probably vote before that day. So, and I think the third issue you raised, I have responded to two.
Yes, I talked about the issue of early voting, absentee voting, and then that of voter registration. And probably any other technical thing that's related to voting that you would want to bring to the attention of the listeners.
Exactly. I think only early voting in the technical sense is like the special voting for people in security services who may be deployed outside of constituencies where they have registered. So some of them that will go on deployment will be given the chance to vote earlier. Okay. There are other arrangements, I think, for people who serve in the diplomatic mission and so on and so forth. And in terms of the voting day itself, we encourage everybody to go as early as possible to the polling station. And before probably I wind up, I'll have to say something small about my commission, the National Commission.
I'll be coming back to you on that. I'll give you that opportunity, obviously. But before we do that, let me just move 1 second to Alexis. Now, the COFOR Scholars Program, apart from the other activities you're engaged in, have seen the necessity in campaigning for a larger voter turnout in 2024. You started right here on Z101.9 FM with a powerful debate, and today we're talking about the nitty-gritty of voting and other things. Can you tell us some of the other plans that the COFOR Scholars Program, like you and your colleagues, are intending to do? This is a wonderful campaign you're mounting. What about our colleagues in Kumasi, in Tamale? Of course, Z has a wonderful platform virtually with a newspaper and everything else to make sure that we reach all the people. But what are some of the other things that you're doing to ensure that come December 7, 2024, our election voter turnout is high and is appreciable?
Okay, so we decided to embark on, like you said, campus-to-campus engagements. So today, Team KNUST, that's the COFOR Scholars Program, the scholars in KNUST, they started their session, they visited various classrooms, and then had this engagement with the students. So we plan on doing that on every campus.
And that's just about it. Within the environs of your campuses, you do not even want to go to the immediate surroundings of KNUST, University of Ghana, University of Cape Coast, University of Professional Studies, University of Education, Winnipeg, Wisconsin University, and all the other private universities. Do you have members across all these universities?
Yes, places where we don't have, we still intend to go there. We even plan on extending it to the senior high schools.
Okay.
So yes, we'll be visiting all those places, the churches and all.
I'll give you the last word, and then I'll go to Doc Mohammed, and then we'll be closing for the evening. What is your last word for this evening? You're firing up all the people, the ladies, the gentlemen of the youth, including the aged as well, especially those who are eligible to go vote. Your last word for December 2024.
I'd encourage everyone to go out on December 7th to go and cast their votes. And recently, the Electoral Commission has made provisions for registration. I think it started today. It's going to end on the 3rd. So I'd urge everyone who has not registered for their National Voter's ID to participate in this exercise. And like Doc said, on election day, after casting your votes, please go back to your house.
Wonderful. Go and wait.
Yes.
Very calmly. And when it's 5 o'clock, you come back to the center. So we count joyously, collaboratively. It is not about the end of the world. It's about moving Ghana forward. Doc, we're getting to the last minutes of the day, and you wanted to say a little bit about the NCCE.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think in connection with this election, there are issues that we have flagged as issues that require so much attention. One, money in politics, and what we term as vote buying, that people should be watchful of. Vote buying is illegal. It's been prescribed by several laws of this country. Secondly is the issue of misinformation and disinformation. The media houses are more familiar with that. Now we have a media that is so vibrant. We have a media that, traditional media interfacing with social media handles. Every morning you get a lot of WhatsApp messages that you don't know the source. Some of them very scary. You are tempted to share, and some of these things have actually sparked conflict in some areas. These are things we want people to be mindful of. And also in Ghana, luckily, we've been able to hold ourselves along religious lines. Muslims, Christians living peacefully. But there are fault lines. Just a single comment, somehow denigrating or undermining one religion or the other could spark violence on election day. So we have to be very tolerant. And lastly, the issue about vigilantism, people taking the law into their hands and then snatching ballot boxes and so on and so forth. The police are on the high alert. And to those of you who will be deployed to go and do those antisocial behaviors, know that the small money that will be given to you will not be able to save you when you enter prison for that antisocial act that you have done. And in terms of our activities, just like Kufuor Foundation, we lead the light in going to churches, mosques. We organize, workshops for political parties, youth of political parties, and there are flagship activities that we do. Debate for parliamentary candidates that we are planning to hold. We do survey to inform voter choices, and also create platforms for political parties to dialogue on issues that could trigger violence on election day. So on this note, we call on Ghanaians. Ghana is a beacon. Let's maintain Ghana as a beacon of democracy in the world.
Well, how better else could we have gotten in it? And very straight to the point, go out there and make sure that your registration is alive and it is valid on the day of election. In fact, between now and 7th December, let's eschew vigilantism and let's be tolerant of each other, because we have coexisted despite our religious differences and all that. Well, vote buying is something that we have been advised today to say goodbye to. And the third, very important, valid point, let us not misinform. And let us not disinform. And this one is so critical and very much straight to the media sector. In fact, if you doubt it, if you are a media person, if you're a media practitioner, if you're a radio station, television station, and you doubt it, just come back to Z 101.9 FM and you'll get it all right. And on this note, we're bringing the curtains down, but we can't do that without saying a very good evening to you, Madam Kathleen Adi, the chairperson for the National Commission for Civic Education. Of course, Dr. Jean Mensah, the chair of the Electoral Commission. Hey, the Kufuor Scholarship Program. His Excellency John Ajekum Kufuor, wherever you are, we salute you tonight. Dr. Pascal, who is Program Manager and Coordinator of the Kufuor Scholars Program, and Professor Bafwa Jimendia. How else could we have gotten this far without you? Tonight, we want to salute you and we say kudos for all the good job you're doing. Thank you very much, Alexis, for coming. And Dr. Mohammed Imurana, Director of Programs, the National Commission for Civic Education. It's exactly 8 o'clock, and that's how Nana Safo Kantanka signing off tonight on Z 101.9 FM, your Voter's Aid 2024. Don't go away. Every Thursday evening, 7 p.m. will come your way. Good night and stay aloof.
You're tuned in to Z 101.9 FM, your lifestyle, leisure, and business radio.